Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me and allowing me to continue to be your daily advocate. If you're new here or you're not subscribed for any reason, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you who have been watching and following me for so long. It truly means a lot, and I'm glad that I can be this person.
First thing here is I want to show you this. Link2 had tweeted this out. This is a representation of Ripple's valuation increasing consistently, and we look forward to XRP receiving the clarity and the true price discovery it deserves. Rest assured, Link2 is hustling to democratize access to private markets. Visit this for more information. But if you look at this chart, it's talking about the valuation of Ripple, which is equity and is not the same as XRP. And it shows how XRP's valuation has been moving during the same period of time. Perfectly illustrates that they're two separate things. And by the way, they do have, I believe they've still got a little bit of Ripple equity left on the platform. So go check it out on, that's linqto.com. I'll put a link in the top of the description of this video. All right, this is how I started my morning. I said nothing like waking up to a hot cup of coffee and a Freedom of Information Act list of everyone who communicated with Bill Hinman leading up to the Ethereum Free Pass speech. Now, folks, you've seen the timeline. You've seen John Deaton's timeline that is not in dispute, okay? You've seen that timeline. And the timeline that all of us have kind of, you know, in our own decentralized justice kind of way, we've all put this timeline together based on videos and their words and documents, and nobody has been willing or able to dispute the timeline. And we did all of that without having the list that we now have, okay? That's part of the reason this video is going to be very interesting, because the can of worms, I would say that the can of worms has been cracked open a little bit, and it's in the process of slowly being opened completely, okay? Now, first let me show you this. This is from Dark Defender. Dear all, XRP closed with a bullish pin bar daily candle yesterday. Whoever that is about to be broken, whatever that's called, is about to be broken, and 85 cents is the key. Above 85 cents, target will be $1.33. When $1.33 is broken, $2.03 will be in play. Supports are the same, 75, 70, 61. Thank you. All right, and I don't know what the dove is here. Okay, this is what happened yesterday afternoon, and I saw that I had closed my computer. I was about to get myself a glass of wine for a Friday evening glass of wine, and then I had shut everything down, and then I saw this come across. I was like, are you kidding me? So now I got to open back up. Can't just stare at this. Empower Oversight released this. They said SEC releases emails to empower oversight in crypto conflicts lawsuits. Still searching for more. And here's what their release was. The SEC released emails to empower in crypto conflicts of interest lawsuit. Okay, now if you go through here, here's the gist of what was released. They released 1,053 pages of emails involving Hinman, where he is communicating with people at Simpson Thacher. Now I skimmed through all those, and most of the emails, and these people, I don't think that they're going to release this stuff very easily, folks. I think they're going to try everything under the sun, redactions and everything else, because when you look at the list, you know they can't show these things. They cannot. All right, so that 1,000 was basically a bunch of people congratulating William Hinman for getting a job at the SEC and him making them aware of that kind of stuff. Then there's 46 emails from Mark Berger, okay, and where Mark Berger was emailing with people, okay? Then they put out a detailed list of people who were involved, who were in all of those emails, but they didn't, my understanding is they didn't release all of the emails. But so today, what's most interesting to me here's the lists of the people that were in the communications. These are the emails. These are a bunch of the emails. I went through that and there wasn't really anything there. I think that they're going to hold on to that as long as they can. But here's what's interesting is the lists. This list specifically. This one, all records relating to communications from May of 2017 through December of 2020 between William Hinman and any personnel from the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, including calendar entries, notes, or emails between Mr. Hinman, any email address from the domain at Enterprise, the Ethereum Alliance email address, okay? Personnel from the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance include, in other words, these are the people that William Hinman was communicating with. Joseph Lubin, most of these names on here you're going to recognize. I've shown video of course, Joseph Lubin. Matt Korb is one of the consensus attorneys. I've shown video of him. Jeremy Millar is one of their legal people, as I recall. Lowell Ness is the guy that wrote the Safe Harbor memo. Dax Hansen is the guy at Perkins Coie who's his partner, and Dax Hansen's the one that wrote the memo from Ripple for Ripple back in 2012 saying he didn't believe XRP was a security. So the same people, this SEC folks, they're in the room planning this Ethereum, or via email, planning this Ethereum free pass with all these people. One of the guys they're planning it with is Dax Hansen, or having conversations with, I'm assuming. Or maybe he wasn't involved in that part of it, but anyway. Bill Hinman is communicating with this guy and communicating with this guy, and the way it stands right now, they discounted this guy's opinion completely on XRP, but went with his opinion on Ethereum. Now, what kind of sense, what kind of upside down crazy world are we living in? I don't get it, folks. There's some issues going on here. We've got Wendy Moore. I'll show you in a minute the video of her. She's Perkins Coie. Vitalik Buterin was communicating with Bill Hinman. Nancy Wotos, we've shown videos of her. And as you go down, you'll see down here, this is where it gets real interesting. Do you remember recently when Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey were going back and forth? I told you that those guys were watching everything that we were doing in the XRP community. Everything everybody's been finding. Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey, there was a reason that they went after, that they started making fun publicly of Andreessen Horowitz and about Web3. Because I think that they were watching. I think they probably pieced together some things they didn't realize that had been going on, and that's where all that came from. Mark Andreessen was in communication with Bill Hinman. So was Ben Horowitz, his partner. We've talked a lot about Chris Dixon. He's a partner at Andreessen Horowitz. He's the one that Jay Clayton put in charge of putting the venture capital working group together, which eventually turned into the Safe Harbor memo. Okay? Brad Burnham, we've talked about him. He was on stage with Nancy Wotos in a video. These two guys are venture capitalists at Union Square Ventures, which was the other venture capital firm. Guess who else? This guy right here. Man, this guy right here. That's all I'm going to say, folks. This guy right here. The only thing that surprises me about him being on this list is I thought that he would have kept himself further separated from this than being in direct contact with Bill Hinman, but he didn't. Well, there's more on that coming. You just sit back and watch. And then there's Steve Narioff. Remember Steven Narioff? This is the same guy. I've shown video of him. This is the same guy who he was the guy that said he was on the phone with what's his face, Grunfest, the former SEC guy. He was on the phone. He was the one before the Ethereum ICO that was on the phone with Grunfest, and he came up with the idea of calling the ether a gas, calling it fuel and selling it as a product. And he's the one that got on the phone with Grunfest, ran that by Grunfest, and Grunfest called the SEC on his behalf, and they said the SEC loved it. That's how and he's also the guy who said that was, I can't remember which part he said was the decentralization. I think he said was all hatched from the SEC. So Stephen Narioff, turns out, was not just involved in the Ethereum ICO, he was also in communication with Bill Hinman during the Ethereum Free Pass speech and all of that, the lead up to it. So this list right here, folks, this list right here, I want you to think about this for a minute. We put all of that timeline, we put it all together without having this list. There are names on this list I didn't know. Do you know the freaking field day that I am going to have and that everybody in the XRP community is going to have, going through this list and pulling video of all these people? It's like somebody told me months ago. This thing gets much, much worse because everything we've talked about so far has been public information. These types of things have not been public until now. What else is coming, folks? Because with this list alone, I can promise you, we are about to have this is like, in my part of the world, we have things called ant beds, and you put your foot in a fire ant bed, and you will wish you hadn't, because those fire ants are all over you, and they're stinging you all over. Well, this, my friends, is a crypto SEC Ethereum fire ant bed right here. And they just stepped in it. And this right here is going to get real interesting, okay? Now, let me show you. This is just the start. These are just my initial thoughts, folks. First, I retweeted that list to Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey, and I said, hey, Elon, Jack, I give you Web 3 because this is how Web 3. The design of this was to get a monopoly for Ethereum so that you could issue tokens. You could have a money printing factory. You could issue tokens only on Ethereum, and which Joseph Lubin has been bragging about for years now, how he issues tokens all the time. Everybody else has no regulatory clarity, but he issues them all the time, and he thinks the SEC is great. It was about that, and it was about creating a monopoly for DeFi. Do you see Gary Gensler going after any Ethereum-based DeFi projects? I do not. And I'm sure he'll go after one or two that don't mean anything in order to make it look like we're all wrong. So now, here's another thought I had. I said we put this entire timeline together, the timeline that is not in dispute, without this list. This thing takes things to a new level, and I'm asking Eleanor Terrett and Charles Gasparino, how about getting some of these people on the record? I'm sure they want to talk, so I got a tornado siren coming. So here's what's about to happen, folks. We're going to power through it, but every Saturday at 12 o'clock in my town, we get a tornado siren. And so I feel like today it's kind of appropriate to have a siren going off because there's a Russian invasion going on. We've just gotten this list that we have never had before. If I were on this list, I would be hearing tornado sirens, so it's entirely appropriate. Now, here's another one thing I wanted to show you is as we go, we've got the list, and then this part right here, the fact that Mike Novogratz is on this list and he was in communication with Bill Hinman makes this video make more sense. Remember when I put this out on September 7th? This was June 5th, 2018, nine days before the Hinman Ethereum Free Pass speech, and I love that there's a tornado siren going on while we play this for you.
There are bigger decisions to make. Bitcoin they've already kind of said it's not a security, okay, but Ethereum they haven't ruled on yet. I bet dimes to donuts. They will say Ethereum probably was a security, but it's not anymore. And they're stuck because they weren't ahead. There is this group of tokens that were issued, probably 2,500 in total, but in reality, probably 200 that matter, that are in this kind of regulatory no man's land. And they got to figure out how to deal with that. And they're working on that right now. My gut feeling is they're going to take out a law firm, they're going to take out a token, they're going to take out some of the promoters of these things, just to say, dudes, you got to play by the rules. But when we're talking about going forward in the future,
now I want you to think about this for a minute, folks. This is this man right here. Now, first I want to make a point here. Right, this list of people, the fact that they were all sitting here and that they were in the SEC or communicating with the SEC to lobby them on behalf of Ethereum, there's not anything wrong with that. I want to make that point here. There's not anything wrong with being on this list. The place that it becomes wrong is when we start talking about, well, there's several places it could go wrong. The first is if any of these people, now Gary Gensler won't say whether Ethereum's a security or not. I'll make that point down the road. But the place that this could get really ugly is if any of these people were acting and making investments based on this insider information, okay? And something that I didn't even remember, but something he just said. He just said in this clip that I think first of all, he makes the prediction of exactly what happens, and now we know he was in communication with Bill Hinman based on this list. Well, he says a few things in this. The one thing he does is he accurately predicts what's going to happen 9 days after he's on this show, which is they're going to say Ethereum was a security, but now it's not, okay? Now we know he was in communication with Hinman, so go figure, okay? But what he also says in here is something similar to what we've heard Joseph Lubin say on a lot of these videos, and that is he's making predictions about what the SEC, what he thinks some of the regulators are going to do. They're going to go after some of these tokens. And they're going to make examples out of maybe a law firm. So my question is, if he was able to accurately predict, if he had knowledge of what was going on with this, did he also have knowledge? Did they also have knowledge that Ripple was going to be gone after? Did they have? Remember, this is the same guy that told us, that bragged, I think it was on this same show, he bragged about how he just couldn't understand it when the XRP price went up to $3 and something back in 2018. And he bragged about how, oh, we were short. So my question is, did he know anything? Did this guy know anything from being in these inside conversations about that they were going to go after Ripple? I don't know. But it's something that needs to be looked at, because it wasn't just that he was shorting XRP. It wasn't just that. He was going out onto television shows and trying to and scratching his head and acting like just about every time something good was happening for XRP, he's going on CNBC. Oh, I don't understand this. It's just not. I don't understand why the price of this would go up. While he's behind the scenes communicating with Bill Hinman, who eventually gives Ethereum the free pass. There's a lot of, and look, I'm not saying the guy did anything wrong. What I'm saying is somebody needs to be asking the questions. Because if you don't, this right here, they put Martha Stewart in jail for insider trading. If I'm Martha Stewart, I'm looking at this list right here and I'm going, you know what? They put me in jail and made an example out of me while this kind of stuff is, and again, I don't know that any of these people did anything wrong, but with something like this, you have to look at who in this equation was buying Ethereum on the lead up to that Bill Hinman speech, or we don't have a country of laws anymore. If anything deserves to be investigated, that does. Okay, now let's move along. Now you remember this? This woman right here, we now know, we didn't know it when I found this video, she's the one that said this. Listen.
What's interesting is I don't think Ether...
By the way, this is Nancy Wotos, and this is Wendy Moore. Hold on a second, I gotta answer this phone call from my wife real quick. I'm gonna do this again. Sorry, that was my wife. She had gone into a house and accidentally set the alarm off. And this happened to me when I was younger. I walked into my parents' house and it had I accidentally set the alarm off and then turned it off. And I was telling my wife, listen, if you set the alarm off, you got to go, make sure you go and get out in the driveway so that if any police officers show up, they can see you and you're not inside the house, in a back hallway, because they'll draw guns on you. It happened to me when I was a kid. So anyway, that's what my wife was calling about. Okay, so let me get back to this. So on this list, one's Nancy Wotos, who is right here, but there's also one that I did not know was involved in the discussions with Bill Hinman, okay? Wendy Moore, who is right here. She's with Perkins Coie. But I did find this clip months ago, and it's worth you listening to. So because now we know that two people, not one, but two people that were involved in the discussions, no, three. We got Dax Hansen, who weighed in and said XRP is not a security back in 2012. He's on this list. We got Wendy Moore, who's on the list, and you're going to hear what she says in a second. And we got Nancy Wotas. All three of them don't think XRP is a security, and they're in discussions with Hinman, who ignores all of that.
Interesting is I don't think Ether is decentralized. I think it's fully functional, but I don't think it's decentralized. But the chairman, the division director said it's decentralized. So, hey, look at the metrics for Ether. And hey, you do a little better than that, hey.
Then why isn't Ripple? Yeah, and I wonder if they had...
Yeah, why isn't Ripple? So you got a lot of people. This thing, ooh man, with this list, it stinks even more. It makes you sick to even... All right, so I'm going to keep going. Next, John Deaton weighs in. The emails that we have received from the efforts of Jason Foster and Empower are narrowly focused. What we have so far is a very small portion of the relevant documents. It's only emails between Hinman and Berger and any address with Simpson Thatcher email. What Empower is doing with the name list is drilling down on other possible contacts with key figures, which didn't involve emails to Simpson Thatcher. We get to participate in a quasi-forensic investigation in slow motion. In other words, this thing's going to branch out, folks, and boy, is it going to get interesting. And so then I showed that, Lowell Ness is on here, and I just wanted to remind everybody, this is Lowell Ness, the video I showed a long time ago, where he is talking about what Jay Clayton did, going over to Andreessen Horowitz, picking Chris Dixon to head this whole thing up. So then I tweeted this out. I said, can some of you attorneys help me? Gary Gensler declares Ethereum to be a security, and anyone on the list bought Ethereum with non-public information, knowing Hinman would give his personal opinion to the market that Ethereum was a non-security. What are we dealing with here? So the definition of insider trading is this: understanding insider trading, the buying or selling a security in breach of a fiduciary duty or other relationship of trust and confidence on the basis of material, non-public information about the security. So I want you to think this through, folks. Because I don't have any proof, and I'm not saying they did. I'm not naming any names or anything like that. But I'm telling you, I want you to think about what those people that were communicating with Bill Hinman, all these people knew that Ethereum was going to get a free pass and be called a commodity. And so they had to be thinking at the time, because you and I would too, they had to be thinking at the time, well, if it's going to be called a commodity, then it would not be insider trading for me to buy it with the information I know, because the insider trading laws only apply to securities the way I just read it. I'm no attorney. Okay? So there's a real good chance that a lot of them bought it, not knowing that here 3 years later, the SEC was going to say, no, that was Bill Hinman's opinion. That was not an official position of the SEC. And they won't say whether it's a security now. So everybody on that list, if they bought with knowledge that it was about to be what they thought was going to be an official position of the SEC, but now they're saying it's only Bill Hinman's opinion, think about the quandary you got here. You got quite the interesting situation here, folks. You got a mess is what you got. And then I said this, because remember, this Empower thing with Jason Foster, this is going, you know how we've been talking about, I've been telling you that this whole Ethereum thing and Bitcoin thing has tentacles and it involves all these different, it's like a coordinated effort. Well, you're about to see some tentacles on this thing, folks, because this is going to spread. It's going to keep spreading now. And I said, have there been any Freedom of Information Act requests involving communications between the crypto trade groups? Remember, we've been harping on this lately. These are the same trade groups that keep telling everybody that they're a crypto trade group, and they get their tax classification that way too, I think. I'm no attorney, but they say they're crypto trade groups, but you don't see any of them supporting Ripple or John Deaton and the 65,000 plus XRP holders. They're not doing anything. You may start seeing them doing something to provide cover for themselves if I was betting. But I would be interested to see if those trade organizations that are supposed to be pro-crypto, because remember, what came out of the Hinman speech was only clarity for Bitcoin and Ethereum. The rest of the industry has been put in purgatory, just like Brad Garlinghouse said, for over 3 years now, okay? The rest of the industry, while these people, so my point is if any of these crypto trade organizations were involved in this and making it so that just Bitcoin and Ethereum got a free pass back then, if they were involved in it, and now they're out here trying to act like they're working on behalf of the industry and Congress and all of this, what does that look like? What is that? It's not going to look good at all. You know who you are, folks. You've had plenty of chances to come out here and fight for all of crypto, and you haven't done it. You haven't supported Ripple. You haven't supported John Deaton. You've had plenty of time. So this is what you call snowballing, folks. All right. I've issued an open invitation to anyone on this list to come in on the show with John Deaton on my show to go through the Ethereum free pass timeline, which is not in dispute, and explain to us where we were wrong and why we are wild and crazy conspiracy theorists. And John Deaton weighed in. He says, DAI, how long has our timeline been made public? Almost 6 months. We allege specific dates and meetings, and we cite what people said and when and where they said it. No one person has challenged one fact or date or comment. How often does that happen on social media? Challenge us. Yes, challenge us. All right, and then I said, then there's this. This was the other part of this was the other list, another one of the lists that was released yesterday. This was a list, all records relating to communication from May 2017 through December of 2020 between Jay Clayton and personnel from One River Asset Management, including calendar entries, notes, or emails between Mr. Clayton and any email address from the domain One River Asset Management. Okay, that's who he went to work for. And so it reminded me of this video that Stefan Huber put out. Listen to this when Jay Clayton went on CNBC.
I do want to ask you one thing, because it's something that your critics seem to believe, which is that in your final days at the head of the SEC brought a case against Ripple. Now you're advising some other companies in this space, and they point out or suggest that this is a conflict.
Well, Andrew, let me say that we brought a number of cases during my tenure at the SEC in the ICO space, offerings and securities that were not following our rules around registration for wide distribution to the public. I'm not going to comment specifically on the case you mentioned, but in terms of my after government service in this space, what I can say is that the companies that I advise, I don't want to be promoting them, but one is an institutional asset manager, another is a what I would call an infrastructure provider. I did not know these companies while I was in the government. I was introduced to them after I exited, did my due diligence as to whether I would be an advisor, and chose to do so. I did not know these companies while I was in the government.
Okay, he did not know them, and yet he's had email communications during that whole time with looks like about 20 plus people at One River Asset Management. I said, in South Georgia, we call this lying. And this is who CNBC hires to be a contributor. Unbelievable. Okay, now I want to go through some of the things that are going on in the world right now. I'll start with this. This is Peter Schiff, and a Bitcoin proponent.
Follow you on Twitter. I've been seeing what you've been saying. And I mean, if you look at the last 5 years, gold is actually up only around 39%. It's not really done anything, whereas Bitcoin is up 3,200%. Perhaps we live in this highly new era and a new time where my generation, millennials, actually do see value in something which is digital rather than something which is tangible.
Well, all young generations make mistakes. Bitcoin has crashed many times over the last 5 years. It's just come back every time.
It comes back pretty strong. We got to leave it there.
But it doesn't always come back, Charles. One time it's going to crash and never come back.
All right, let's leave it there. Too passionate. You know, I used to disagree with Peter Schiff on some of this stuff. I think that there is going to be I think gold will ultimately be redeemed and the reason is because the power structure around the world is behind gold. I believe there's a lot of games and a lot of nefarious things that have gone on with all of this Bitcoin, Ethereum stuff, and you have to ask yourself the question if the plan all along was to somehow take Bitcoin out later on. You don't have to just take my word for it, folks. Look at what first let's watch this. And remember, this is from Russia Today. This is Russia's news network. I believe they're floating a narrative intentionally that's bullcrap. Watch.
Russia, China, Iran, and many other countries don't like the domination the United States has over the SWIFT system, and it really is only a matter of time before there are multiple systems. Bitcoin is already functioning to a degree like that. So this would be a very dangerous step because it would accelerate the end of the SWIFT monopoly.
It's not going to be Bitcoin, folks. And I made this point. Russia and China are going to abandon SWIFT for Bitcoin, which is supposedly created by a libertarian they do not know during the financial crisis. Has our world really been dumbed down this much? It's not going to happen, folks. They may play some games to make it look like that's going to happen, but that's not what this is, folks. Now, speaking of this is a tweet from, I guess, yesterday. What's today's date? I think it's yesterday. Talking with my new friends at Ripple about their CBDC work and partners with Digital Euro, Ripple. What do you think about that, folks? Digital Euro. Then there's this. George Gammon, who is like a sophisticated guy, financial guy. I started researching Ripple to see if Russia might use, this is out of nowhere, folks. I started researching Ripple to see if Russia might use it as a SWIFT workaround, as many have suggested. FYI, if you understand Ripple, you understand the euro-dollar system. This is not an endorsement, simply saying the systems are very similar, and if you understand one, it's very easy to understand the other. Ripple is interesting, but keep in mind, euro-dollar system was created in the 50s. I'd suggest creators use euro-dollar as a starting point. Anyway, very interesting thread. Matt Hamilton from Ripple comes in and kind of has a dialogue with the guy. Very interesting read.
So enjoy your day, everybody. I'm always here for you. Leave any comments or questions below and be sure to subscribe. But thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you. Enjoy your day, and I always have your back. So thanks so much, everybody.